I think out of every Heisei Godzilla kaiju and most of the kaijus in general, when it comes to making the most sense and fitting into the Monsterverse, I think Biollante probably makes the most sense, logistically and narratively. Genetic engineering has been a prominent plot device in the Heisei era, and it's been becoming more in the Monsterverse, such as Apex scavenging Kevin's head and using it to connect both Ren Serizawa and Mechagodzilla. Biollante is a prime example of taking advantage of Godzilla's power and creating disastrous effects. A combination of the DNA of a girl, a rose, and Godzilla's cells. Her origin is pretty similar to Mechagodzilla's, honestly, and it can fit perfectly well into the Monsterverse. In 1984, after Godzilla's first attack after 30 years, a team of scientists searched for tissue samples of Godzilla. They'd be attacked by American soldiers working for a US-based genetics research company called Biollante, who were also searching for samples as well. They'd have the samples stolen, but as the soldiers flee with the samples, they themselves are ambushed by a single mercenary. A mercenary called SSS-9, who would take the cells to the Republic of Suradia, a nation in the Middle East, where two Japanese geneticists, Genichiro Shiragami and his daughter Erika, would take charge of them. Genichiro is working with the Suradian government for a project to genetically engineer and breed a new species of plant that would be capable of living in the Suradian desert, in hope of gradually taking away the country's need to rely on oil for profit and make them the largest grain exporter in the world. But before this, the lab where Godzilla's cells are being stored at are bombed by the Biomajor agents and the cells will be destroyed. Erika would be caught in the crossfire and she'd perish in the blast. Genichiro would return to Japan unwilling to continue his research. In 1989, Genichiro would live in a laboratory on the shores of Lake Ashi and would keep Erika's roses alive. And he has even spliced her genes with the plant in hope that she might be able to live within them. He would call the Japanese Psionics Research Center, and after a psychic named Miki Sagusa would test the roses to see if her conscience is in them, two Biomajor agents would be observing them, and it turns out they've been watching Shiragami for years. They would also be under surveillance by the Suradian agent that would steal Godzilla's cells back in 1984. A sudden earthquake would erupt in the area, causing the rose garden that Genichiro was attending to be destroyed, which would result in Genichiro deciding to splice Godzilla's cells with the rose, and because of the nature of Godzilla's DNA, the rose would mutate, being called Biollante, named after a Norse mythological plant spirit. She's essentially the tribrid of the DNA of a deceased girl, a rose, and Godzilla cells, still holding the conscience of Erika Shiragami. I feel like Biollante perfectly fits into the Monsterverse. Besides Destroya, I've seen so many fans wish for her to be included in it. Genetic engineering has been playing its role in the Monsterverse with the introduction of Mechagodzilla and Apex, which is a cybernetic company. Mechagodzilla was built by Apex to wipe out all the Titans and to replace Godzilla. He'd be piloted remotely by Ren Serizawa by a telepathic link with Kevin's skull. Ren Serizawa would pilot Mechagodzilla to kill Godzilla because Ren was resentful that his father, Dr. Serizawa, would focus more on the research of Godzilla instead of spending his time with his family, and would ultimately sacrifice himself to make Godzilla stronger, thus ending any possibility of spending more time with his family. I believe if someone is willing to go to such lengths as creating Mechagodzilla with Kevin's skull out of anger towards Godzilla and his father's death, a scientist hoping to resurrect his dead daughter, or at least keep her conscience alive with the Godzilla cells and a rose, would not be far-fetched at all. Though I do like the human characters in the Monsterverse, I feel like their relationships aren't really explored upon that much. And yeah, it's a monster movie, we want monsters, but I want to know more about the people who have to deal with them. I do love Bernie Hayes though. I feel like really exploring a father's grief and how irrational someone can become through grief would be a good way to have a reason for Biollante's existence. Godzilla is a powerful organism. His DNA can do amazing things. It wouldn't be far-fetched if a grieving geneticist thought that if Godzilla can regenerate damaged tissue, what would happen if he used his daughter's DNA, combined it with a flower that they were trying to create, and hopefully see if his deceased daughter can live through it. Trying to find some way of still being connected to his daughter. Because I honestly feel like the exploration of Ren Serizawa and his relationship with his father was wasted. At least with Bernie, we know that his wife is deceased. It's explained that he at least loved his wife and is devastated by her loss. that she was his truth. But with Ren Serizawa, it was honestly wasted. I wanted to really see why Ren was so resentful that he was willing to create Mechagodzilla with the use of Kevin's skull and risk himself to be the pilot. I wanted him himself to explain his reasoning, even if it's irrational, not just barely being touched upon, because through grief, people can become very irrational. So I feel like if we introduce Genichiro Shiragami into the universe with the same circumstances as the Heisei movie, it would show more characterization and more plot material for a grieving man desperately trying to have some connection with his deceased daughter. In Godzilla vs. Kong, the main origins of the entire lore for the Monsterverse would be the Hollow Earth theory. A theory that the planet would be hollow, but in that hollow space, there'd be multiple other theories about what could be in it, such as another environment within that space, just like in the Monsterverse. A theory I would introduce into this hypothetical version would be the cellular memory theory. A theory that the brain is not the only thing in the body that can store memories, but also the memories being able to be stored in the body's individual cells. And because Erica's conscience is within Biollante after her father spliced her DNA with the rose, it's already proven to be true in that movie. There would have been no other way that Erica's conscience was within Biollante without the cellular memory theory, so it could very well be expanded upon in the Monsterverse. There's also the crazy circumstances in Godzilla vs. Biollante. They were being hunted down by US biomajor agents, and those agents were being hunted down by a mercenary. I think some chase scenes of trying to get some of Godzilla's cells would be crazy. Biomajor agents who could even be enhanced by the US military who were already able to create an oxygen destroyer, and the mercenary SSS-9 who could potentially work for Apex as well. We might even get a cool cyborg mercenary and have a crazy fight scene / chase scene. So in the movie, they were working on the anti-nuclear energy bacteria, a genetically engineered strain of bacteria that was able to feed on nuclear materials to clean up radiated areas in case of nuclear accidents. And I know not everything has to be connected to the Hollow Earth, but I feel like Apex having Genichiro create this type of bacteria to absorb radiation left behind by the Titans and to absorb Hollow Earth energy would make a lot of sense. Possibly even manipulating this grieving scientist with some baloney that if he was able to create this, they could resurrect Erica. As for Biollante herself, she would be so expanded upon. I feel like her design should honestly be left alone with some more elements of the modern Godzilla, but also of course having elements of other types of plants, including plants from the Hollow Earth and of course Skull Island, such as the Venus flytrap from Skull Island, that I feel like would be pretty cool if Apex was aiding Genichiro in creating the plant. They would also secretly add in the cells of the flytrap to give Biollante her appearance. There was also the carnivorous plant that appeared in the novelization of Kong Skull Island. That would act similar to a pitcher plant, trapping animals inside of it and having enzymes to break down the animal and absorb it. You could add a multitude of plants to Biollante. There is of course the Venus flytrap, but there's also a plant called Icbalium, or the squirting cucumber, capable of shooting out a liquid containing its seeds as a means of seed dispersal. And it would be insanely dangerous to have basically a gigantic squirting cucumber that was capable of firing out giant seeds containing Godzilla's DNA that could potentially sprout and create even more Biollantes. Not to mention Biollante's ability of breaking apart her entire body into these golden energy particles, dispersing somewhere else to escape, and combining back together to heal herself. And of course there's her iconic acidic spit that was able to even harm Godzilla. The reason Biollante is the way she is because of Godzilla's DNA. What if I gave her another ability? The ability to absorb another Titan, absorbing and copying their DNA to use their abilities as well, incorporating the hypothetical add-on of the pitcher plant to use this ability. The only other monsters I know that can copy other monsters' abilities are the trilopods that appeared in Godzilla Rulers of Earth, and we know how much of a threat they were. What if Biollante was fighting Godzilla and she was able to absorb the Titan Amhaluk, a plant-like Titan similar to her who could potentially even enhance her plant control? What if she was even able to gain access to King Ghidorah's third head, Kevin's skull? You can still harvest DNA from bone, and King Ghidorah died only a couple years before. What if she was able to absorb that skull and potentially gain the abilities of King Ghidorah, which something similar happened in the manga? And because she already has Godzilla's DNA, she should have all of his abilities as well, including Godzilla's tectonic awareness, which could help her know where her spores are at and possibly even control them from a large distance away. So an already dangerous Biollante combined with the DNA of multiple other dangerous plants and giving her the ability to absorb other titans to use their abilities, the risk she would have in the Monsterverse would probably be even worse than King Ghidorah. A dangerous titan who, if I also gave her the ability to absorb Godzilla's radiation and hollow earth energy, would be almost unstoppable. And she wouldn't be the only threat. There are still biomajor agents and the mercenary SSS-9 that I would definitely have in the story. And with the US government and Apex's technology, I would have some damn super soldiers in this story. The humans that need to try to take down Biollante would not only have to worry about her, but also have to worry about my super soldier biomajor agents and also an enhanced SSS-9, like something out of Metal Gear. I feel like having her in this story by herself would have a lot of potential, but having the same circumstances that happened in the Heisei era, including Genichiro Shirogami, his daughter, the biomajor agents, the mercenary, and combining it with the elements of the Monsterverse would be a hit. I would have the audience crying with the guilt that I would give Genichiro in creating this abomination and making sure the audience knows that Erica can feel all of the pain that Biollante is feeling. Not to mention there was a deleted scene in Godzilla vs. Biollante where Godzilla discovered the lake being bloomed with all types of flowers and Godzilla having some sort of regret and understanding of Biollante. And in the Monsterverse, I would have them recognize each other as innocent victims, innocent mutants who are like that because of humanity's mishandling of power. The mishandling of the atomic bombs mutating Godzilla, and the mishandling of Godzilla's DNA creating Biollante. Legendary, please hire me. Toho, please allow me some of the rights to Biollante and the other characters from the movie. I know I don't have any credits to my name, besides a webcomic I haven't updated in almost a year, and a small YouTube channel where I just talk about whatever, but please don't worry about that. Listen to me. I can write. I'd be real useful. Legendary, please hire me. I just gotta say thank you guys so much for the support you've given me on my last video talking about how I'd fit Destroyer in the Monsterverse, and in barely 5 days at the time of me writing this, I'm at like 35,000 views now. So thank you guys so much for all of this. You guys have really given me a lot of motivation to keep doing this. I remember after my King Caesar video, I was trying to make a Planet of the Apes video, and for like 3 days straight, after 3 days of editing it, writing it, voicing it, editing the voiceover, editing all the clips, it kept getting copyright claimed over and over and I couldn't even upload it. It killed a lot of motivation, but after this Destroyer video, I'm glad I've gotten a lot of it back, so thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Join my Patreon. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I got links in my social description. Please be kind to yourselves and each other. Thanks for watching.